Good evening, everyone. I'd like to open the public hearing for Monday, July the 10th, 6 p.m. Looking for approval of the agenda. Move approval. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Following statement. I'll read that out for the benefit of the folks in the audience. The public hearing is convened pursuant to Section 890 of the Local Government Act to allow the public to make representations to Council respecting matters contained in the following proposed bylaws. Colwood Official Community Plan, Bylaw number 999-2008, Amendment number 11 for 3340 Anchorage Avenue. Bylaw number 1691-2017, and number 2 is Colwood Land Use Bylaw number 151-1989, Amendment number 162 for, again, 3340 Anchorage Avenue. Bylaw number 1692-2017. Every one of you present who believes that your interests in the property is affected by the proposed bylaws shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or present written submissions respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaws. None of you will be discouraged or prevented from making your views known. However, it is important that you restrict your remarks to matters contained in the proposed bylaws. When speaking, please commence your remarks clearly by stating your name and address. The function of council at this public hearing is to listen to you rather than to debate the merits of the proposed bylaws. After the public hearing has concluded, council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representations made at the hearing. As a matter of information, the bylaws are on our agenda for consideration later this evening. Please be reminded that after the hearing, there's no further opportunity to speak to council. Your opportunity is now. And with that, I will open comments for bylaw number 1691.
Richard Marchand, 3508 Aloha Avenue. I've got comments and concerns against both bylaws, and I'm going to bring them up in my comments together, if you don't mind, instead of fragmenting them into two different presentations. As a resident of 3508 Aloha Avenue, I've been given several opportunities, as probably most of you know, to participate in various OCP and Planning and Land Use Committee discussions. And nowhere in the current OCP or in the new, currently under discussion OCP, has there ever been a discussion with respect to the development and issue of variances of this corner of the Colwood plot, as far as I'm aware. I believe that these bylaws linked to the same property at 3340 Anchorage Avenue run contrary to the vision of the community at large, and especially bylaw 1691. My concerns and reasons for speaking against the approval of these two bylaws are multifaceted. Firstly, the ongoing public discussion, as I mentioned, for the new OCP and in review of the old OCP, in no way supports higher density development in the foreshore area designated as hillside shoreline. Redesignating the area to neighborhood designation, as I'm led to believe and has been explained to me by the city staff, gives a green light for developers and the city and owners to subdivide the lots into smaller parcels, which is the example that we're talking about today. Take one large lot and divide it into two smaller lots. This gives the green light, as I mentioned, for this to happen throughout the area, not just on this particular lot, which is of grave concern to myself. And not just to myself, but to the people that I've canvassed in my neighborhood. From my perspective, this is a Pandora's box, which is about to bring a plethora of unintended consequences, including not only increased traffic due to the increased density, increased parking demands or variances requesting relief of parking restrictions, increased noise from both the construction, but more importantly, for increased density if this was to be fulfilled throughout the entire area. Infrastructure upgrades and costs to be borne by ourselves, the taxpayers, in support of this increase in density. And lastly, but probably most importantly to myself and to my local citizens of the area, is the environmental impact on the lagoon and the watershed areas that feed the lagoon and the bird sanctuary. This area is considered to be a gem to the local and wider community of Colwood. Secondly, with the new OCP forecast for presentation and approval in December of this year, it would appear there's a series of ongoing strategic planning and variance activities that are taking place across this community, and they seem, in my opinion, to be more ad hoc and piecemeal in their approach. Little impact analysis to show how these plans and variances would fit into the local community structure. And I would argue, not here to argue, but my point of view is that increased density was never foreseen or discussed with respect to how that foreshore area should be developed. These types of approvals, be they ones of a kind or in piecemeal fashion, further burden the new activities with respect to the OCP because they impose new constraints, new variances, and potential rezoning activity. Makes it much more difficult for your Planning and Land Use Committee or its successor and the OCP Committee to remain in synchronization and provide you, Council, with meaningful recommendations. At best, the approach results in significant rework of existing documents by the staff, and at worst, it provides us with a patchwork of various density and housing which doesn't fit with the local structure of the neighborhoods in question. In essence, the wishes of the few, the developer, are being supported against the requirements of the many, we the Colwood residents and taxpayers. Thirdly, for those of you who would argue that the precedents have already been set in other areas or with other lots, I would argue that it's time to freeze these discussions. Approvals for already zoned development land should not be taken forward until a clear and coherent approach to this entire community is agreed to in the OCP. Like I mentioned before, the existing OCP doesn't mention increased development activity in the foreshore area. The Council has undertaken significant outreach vis-a-vis the OCP development activities. You've got these public hearings. You've opened up your meetings to us. I, for one, as a resident of Aloha Avenue, appreciate the current zoning within the OCP allows for us an uncongested piece of real estate where houses sit on perfectly spaced and accommodating lots. The housing units in the hillside foreshore or shoreline area have been established to meet the needs of the public and as well deal with the environmental impacts with respect to some of the environmentally sensitive areas. I, for one, appreciate the natural beauty that's at our doorstep in this regard. And vis-a-vis the lagoon, bird sanctuary area, and the protected areas surrounding them, I would like to see them kept that way. And I, for one, would hate to see this area of the city be rezoned to allow for higher density, smaller lot size building constructions to take place. With respect to the content of Bylaw 1692, there's no amount of money in my estimation that would buy my support for implementing these proposed changes that I've mentioned above. The house was bought as a single dwelling, and the owners who wish to knock it down, by all means, replace it with a new unit, but don't look to increase the density across not only that lot, but other lots in the local area. As our elected representatives, I therefore request that you not approve these two bylaws for the reasons that I've stated, and for that, I will thank you for your attention. And I'll leave a copy of this with the Secretary so she can make use of it.
Much appreciated. Thank you. Any other comments on bylaw number 1691?
Hi, my name is Lee Garrett. I'm the owner of 3340 Anchorage. We've met before, usually with my wife, who's been the preliminary speaker on behalf of the property, and ourselves, the developer, although really we just want to build our house on the property. I don't think of ourselves as developers per se. I'd like to speak to 2 points that were raised. One is about the official community plan, which was noted, and where the question was raised where the OCP speaks to developments such as this. I'd like to raise the point that the OCP does have provisions for smaller or higher density properties or smaller lots when you're pertaining or when you're implementing greener construction or greener options. Our intent at this house is to build a passive house, as you may have seen in the previous meetings. So we've met at the planning committee meeting and a couple of meetings since then. The intent is to build a passive house, which is the highest energy efficiency standards that can be achieved, and we're looking to set a bit of an example, ideally, for the community and future developers down the road. And I understand that the OCP has provisions for that. The other thing that I'll just speak to at the moment is the concern about whether the property fits in with the neighborhood. We have prepared and shared with the community, and I apologize I don't have them here with me today, but we've shared with all of our direct neighbors the plan for the area. It's a single-family home, not to exceed the given standard height in the area. Fits in with the neighbors. We've addressed some of the concerns with respect to viewpoints and other things for the neighbors. And the reception in the neighborhood from our direct neighbors has been very good so far. So that's pretty much all I'd want to reiterate, which I think is a repetition of some of the points that we've made previously. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. And seeing as how you're the only two, I'll move on to bylaw number 1692. Colwood Land Use Bylaw number 151, 1989 Amendment number 162, again for the property at 3340 Anchorage. Taking your comments, Mr. Marchand, to be a reiteration, basically, or included in the first, and nothing further from you as well? Okay. With that, I will, and no others present in the room, I will close the public hearing. Thank you very much, folks, for coming. Looking for adjournment. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.